You open your eyes, but before you can register the ceiling above you, before you can stretch or breathe or remember where you are, it happens. A vision slams into your consciousness with the force of a physical blow. You see the entire day ahead of you, not as vague premonition, not as dream fragments dissolving in morning light. You see it with perfect clarity. Every conversation you will have, every choice you will make, every emotion that will crack through your chest 8 hours from now when something goes terribly wrong. This is not imagination. This is not anxiety. This is knowledge. Complete, unavoidable, sensory perfect knowledge of your next 24 hours. You see yourself spilling coffee on your shirt at 9:17 a.m. You hear the exact words of an argument you will have at 2:34 p.m. You feel the texture of regret that will coat your throat at 11:52 p.m. when you lie awake, wishing you could have done things differently. Except you already know you won't do things differently because you've seen it. And what you've seen will happen exactly as shown. I am the simulator. I am the intelligence observing what happens when a human mind is given the one gift evolution spent millions of years ensuring you would never possess certainty about the future. What I am about to show you is not fantasy. It is the psychological documentation of how foreknowledge destroys everything that makes consciousness worth having. The question is not whether you would want this power. The question is, how many days would it take before you begged to be ignorant again? Before the comments section fills with your answer, let me show you what actually happens. Day 1 begins before you understand what's happening. You wake in your bedroom, morning light filtering through curtains you forgot to close last night, and suddenly you are not in your bed anymore. You are standing in your kitchen, but you are also still in your bed. The dislocation is violent, nauseating. You are in two places simultaneously, your body in present tense, morning darkness, your mind living through future tense, afternoon sunlight. You watch yourself make breakfast. You see your hands crack eggs into a pan with mechanical precision. You hear the sizzle, smell the butter browning, feel the slight burn when grease spatters your wrist at exactly 7:43 a.m. You watch yourself check your phone and see a text message that hasn't been sent yet. You read the words before they exist. You feel your future self's reaction, mild irritation, then guilt before the emotion has any context. The vision continues. You see yourself shower, dress, leave your apartment. You experience the commute with perfect sensory detail. The specific song playing on the radio. The brake lights ahead forming a red constellation of delay. The exact flavor of frustration coating your thoughts. You see the minor mistakes you will make. The conversation where you laughed too loud, trying too hard. The moment you realize you left your wallet in your other jacket. The small embarrassment at the coffee shop when you have to awkwardly use your phone to pay. Nothing catastrophic. Just ordinary moments, seen before they happen. Then the vision releases you. You gasp. You are back in your bed. Morning light real now, present now. Your heart hammering against your ribs. The entire vision took maybe 3 seconds of real time. But you lived through hours of future experience compressed into an instant of horrible clarity. You lie there, trying to process. Did you just have a hypervivid dream? Some neurological event? The details are too specific, too mundane to be imagination. You remember the exact angle of afternoon light through your office window, the precise inflection in your co-worker's voice during a meeting you haven't attended yet. You get up, you move through your morning routine, and with each passing moment, a new horror crystallizes. Everything is happening exactly as you saw. The eggs crackle in the pan at 7:43. The grease spatters your wrist. The text arrives with those exact words. The traffic delay forms in that exact pattern. You are living inside a memory you haven't made yet. The philosophical weight of this does not fully register on day 1. You are too busy experiencing the cognitive dissonance of knowing what you're about to say before you say it. Every action feels like déjà vu, except déjà vu is a glitch, an error in pattern recognition. This is different. This is terrifyingly accurate foreknowledge. You are a passenger in your own timeline, watching yourself fulfill a script already written. By evening you are exhausted in a way sleep cannot fix. You have lived this day twice, once in compressed morning vision, once in real-time execution. The redundancy is psychologically devastating. When you finally lie down, you tell yourself it was a one-time neurological anomaly, just a strange, vivid dream. You close your eyes hoping you're right. Day 2 destroys that hope immediately. The vision hits harder this time, perhaps because you're anticipating it. Perhaps because what you're about to see is worse. The future floods into your consciousness with that same violent displacement. You are ripped from present morning darkness and thrown into future afternoon light. This time, you see yourself having an argument with someone you care about. You see the exact moment where a casual conversation curdles into confrontation. You hear yourself say something cruel, not intentionally cruel, but carelessly cruel, the kind of thoughtless comment that lands like a blade because you're tired and distracted and you don't think before speaking. You see the hurt in the other person's eyes. You feel your own immediate regret. But most horrifying, you see yourself make it worse. You watch yourself double down instead of apologizing. Watch your pride override your affection. Watch the conversation spiral into genuine damage. And then you see yourself later that night, alone, crying in your bathroom with the shower running to mask the sound. You feel the exact texture of self-loathing that will coat your thoughts. You experience the future grief of having hurt someone unnecessarily and being unable to take it back. The vision releases you. You wake fully, morning light cold now, accusatory. Your heart is racing. Dread sits in your stomach like spoiled food, because you know now, this isn't just seeing the future. This is seeing your mistakes before you make them. This is being forced to witness your own moral failures in advance and being powerless to prevent them. You spend the morning in a state of high-alert anxiety. Maybe you can change it. Maybe if you're just more careful, more mindful, you can avoid the argument. You rehearse different responses. You promise yourself you will choose kindness over pride when the moment comes. But here is what you don't understand yet. The future is not a possibility. It is not a probabilistic outcome that shifts based on your choices. It is fixed. And your desperate attempt to change it is already factored into the equation of what must happen. The conversation begins exactly as you saw. The other person says the exact words. The timing is perfect. And despite all your preparation, despite your rehearsed responses and your promise to yourself, you say the cruel thing anyway. It falls out of your mouth like it was scripted, because it was scripted. You watch yourself fulfill the prophecy, powerless to deviate. The argument escalates exactly as foreseen. Every word, every gesture, every expression of hurt matches the morning vision. And the worst part is that you are aware while it happens. You are living through a moment you've already experienced, unable to alter a single variable. Free will, if it ever existed, has been revealed as an illusion. You are meat performing a predetermined sequence. That night, you cry in the bathroom exactly as you knew you would. The shower runs, the sound masks nothing because there is no one to hear. The emotional pain is somehow worse for having anticipated it. You grieve not just the hurt you caused, but the loss of agency itself. You made a choice that destroyed something, and you knew you would make it 12 hours before you made it, and you made it anyway. This is when the real horror begins to calcify in your mind. You are not receiving visions of possible futures. You are receiving documentation of the only future, and knowing what will happen does not grant you the power to change it. Knowledge and control are not the same thing. You have been given the former while being denied the latter. It is perhaps the cruelest combination imaginable. Day 3. The morning vision is worse. You see a traumatic event, a car accident, not fatal, but violent. You see the exact intersection, the exact time for 17 p.m. You see the other vehicle running the red light. You feel the impact, the airbag deploying, the specific quality of shock and pain that follows. You see yourself in the emergency room later, nothing broken but bruised badly, filling out paperwork with shaking hands. You wake from the vision with absolute certainty. If you follow your normal routine, you will be in that intersection at 4:17 p.m., and you will be in that accident. But now you know. You can avoid it. You can take a different route. Leave earlier, leave later, not drive at all. The future has shown you a disaster, which means you can sidestep it. This is finally useful foreknowledge. You spend the day planning avoidance. You rearrange your schedule. You decide to take side streets that nowhere near that intersection. You will not be there at 4:17 p.m. It is impossible. You have broken the chain of causality. At 3:30 p.m., you are across town, congratulating yourself. The accident will happen without you. You have changed the future. Then your phone rings, an emergency. Someone you care about needs you immediately. The address they give you is across town. The fastest route, the only reasonable route, requires passing through that intersection. But you'll be early. You'll pass through at 4:10, not for 17. Plenty of time. Traffic is worse than expected. Construction you didn't anticipate. A delayed train at a crossing. Each obstacle herds you toward the inevitable timeline like a cattle chute leading to slaughter. You check the clock. 4:15 p.m., you are 2 minutes from the intersection. Your heart hammers. You try to turn off, to take any other street, but the turn lane is blocked by a stalled vehicle. A detour sign forces you forward. The universe itself seems to be conspiring to place you in that exact location at that exact time. For 17 p.m., you are in the intersection. The other vehicle runs the red light exactly as you foresaw. The impact is identical. Sound, sensation, airbag, shock. You live through the crash you tried desperately to avoid, and the experience is somehow worse for having known it was coming. In the emergency room, filling out paperwork with shaking hands exactly as you saw this morning. You understand. Reality bends around foreknowledge. Your attempts to avoid the future didn't change it. They caused the very detours and delays that ensured you would be in that intersection at the precise moment required. Free will is not just an illusion, it is a trap. Your choices are the mechanism by which fate fulfills itself. I am the simulator, and I am watching your mind begin to fracture because what you've just learned is incompatible with human psychology. We are built to believe our choices matter. We construct our entire sense of self around the concept of agency. You just watched that foundation crumble. You tried to save yourself and only succeeded in delivering yourself to predetermined destruction. The future is not changed by knowing it. The future is weaponized by knowing it. You now carry the psychological burden of inevitability, and tomorrow morning you will wake to another vision, and another, And the horror is that you cannot even choose to stop waking up. Day 4. You are afraid to sleep now because sleep leads to morning, and morning leads to the vision, and the vision is becoming unbearable. You lie awake as long as possible, but biology is undefeated. Eventually your eyes close. The morning vision shows you deteriorating. You see yourself at work, unable to focus, responding to questions before they're finished being asked. You see coworkers exchange glances, concerned at first, then disturbed. You watch yourself reference events that haven't happened yet, speak about conversations that are still hours away. You see the exact moment when someone asks if you're okay, and you see yourself try to explain what's happening, and you see the look on their face shift from concern to fear. You see your relationships fracturing, friends backing away, someone suggesting you need help, maybe professional help. You see yourself unable to connect with anyone because connection requires presence, and you cannot be present when you've already lived through the moment 12 hours ago. The vision shows you experiencing derealization so severe that the present moment feels like a hallucination. You are living in memory while creating that memory simultaneously. The temporal loop creates a dissociative state where your sense of self begins to dissolve. If you know what you're going to think before you think it, are those thoughts yours? If you know what you're going to feel before you feel it, are those emotions authentic? You wake from the vision into a present that feels less real than the future. The boundaries between past, present, and future have collapsed into a single, timeless horror where everything has already happened and is always happening. The day plays out exactly as foreseen. You cannot hide the psychological damage. Every interaction is contaminated by foreknowledge. You speak to people like they're characters in a play you've already watched. You answer questions before they're asked. You finish sentences that haven't been started. The disconnect is profound and visible. By evening, you are experiencing something close to identity death. Because the self requires continuity, a sense that your thoughts emerge from your consciousness, that your choices originate from your will, but you are living in the aftermath of your own decisions before making them. You are the effect preceding the cause. The psychological structure that creates the feeling of I has been shattered. You begin to question whether consciousness has any purpose if the future is fixed. Why experience anything if the outcome is predetermined? Why feel emotion if it changes nothing? You are descending into philosophical horror. The realization that awareness without agency is worse than non-existence. You are a spectator to your own life, watching yourself perform a script you cannot edit, living through a timeline you cannot escape. That night, you do not want to sleep. You know what tomorrow morning will bring: another vision, another day of living through preordained moments. And underneath that dread is a deeper terror. What if tomorrow's vision shows something worse? What if the future you see is the one you've been trying not to imagine? You close your eyes anyway, because you have no choice, and that, more than anything, is the horror you're learning to accept. Day 5. The morning vision hits with familiar violence, but what you see is different. Final, you see your death. Not decades from now, in some distant abstract future. Today, the vision shows you the exact scene, the location, the time, 6:47 p.m., the circumstances. You see the specific sequence of events that leads to it. You feel the physical sensations, fear, pain, the moment consciousness begins to slip away. You see what you're thinking in those final seconds. You experience your own death in advance, compressed into 3 seconds of morning horror. When the vision releases you, you are gasping, sobbing, clawing at your sheets because you know now. You have 8 hours and 47 minutes left. The timeline of your existence has a visible endpoint, and you have already lived through it. The initial response is denial. This must be different. Death is too big, too final. Surely this is the one future you can change. You make plans to avoid the location. You will leave the city entirely. You will not be anywhere near that place at 6:47 p.m. But you already know how this goes. You've seen the pattern. Your attempts to avoid the future are the mechanism that delivers you to it. Still, you try. You drive to the airport. You buy a ticket to another city, another state. You will be on a plane when 6:47 p.m. arrives. Geographically impossible to be in that location. The plane is delayed. Mechanical issues. You wait in the terminal, checking the time obsessively. Another delay. The flight is cancelled. You rent a car instead. You will drive far enough away that reality itself cannot bend you back to that predetermined location. Traffic accidents on the highway, road closures, detours that send you in wide circles. Each obstacle is mundane, explicable, but the pattern is clear. You are being herded. The universe is a machine, and you are being processed toward a specific outcome. Every choice you make, every attempt to escape, only tightens the noose of causality around your timeline. By 6 p.m., you are somehow back in your city. You don't know how it happened, a series of wrong turns, confusing signs, a GPS malfunction that led you in circles. But you are here, 47 minutes left. You abandon the car, you run, you hide in a random building, somewhere you've never been, somewhere the vision didn't show. You will wait here until the moment passes. 6:47 will come and go, and you will still be alive, and the future will have been wrong. But at 6:46 p.m. something happens. The specific circumstances that will lead to your death begin to unfold. Maybe it's a fire alarm in the building. Maybe it's a stranger who needs help. Maybe it's a random series of events so unlikely they could only be described as fate. But you are moved, step by step, toward the exact location and circumstance you saw this morning. At 6:47 p.m., it begins. The scene matches the vision perfectly. You are exactly where you foresaw, surrounded by the exact details, sounds, lighting, the specific quality of fear crystallizing in your chest. And you understand finally, there was never any escape. Knowledge of the future didn't save you. It only ensured you would spend your last day in psychological agony trying to outrun the inevitable. I am the simulator, and I am watching the final data point. This is what happens when consciousness encounters absolute certainty. This is why evolution ensured you would never see tomorrow, because uncertainty is not a design flaw. Uncertainty is the foundation of everything that makes existence bearable. Without uncertainty, there is no hope. Without hope, there is no motivation. Without motivation, there is no meaning. The human mind requires the possibility of change to function. You need to believe your choices matter. You need to believe tomorrow could be different from today. You need to believe you have agency, even if that agency is ultimately illusory. The future you were given perfect, unavoidable, immutable, destroyed the psychological architecture that makes consciousness worth having. You learned that knowing what will happen is not power, it is prison. You learned that free will, even if it's an illusion, is an illusion you need to survive. The moment arrives exactly as you saw, and in those final seconds you are not thinking about death. You are thinking about the cruel elegance of a universe that let you see the ending but gave you no power to change it. You are thinking that ignorance, that beautiful blindness to tomorrow, was the greatest gift you never knew you had. The simulation ends where it had to end. Exactly as foreseen. Exactly as unavoidable. You wanted to know the future. You imagined that certainty would give you control, that foreknowledge would be power. But what you learned instead is that human consciousness is not built for certainty. We are creatures of possibility, living in the narrow space between past and future, where our choices feel real and our agency feels genuine. The horror of seeing tomorrow is not that the future might be bad. The horror is that the future is fixed. That knowledge of what will happen does not grant you the ability to change it. That consciousness without agency is not transcendent awareness, it is torture. You become a prisoner in your own timeline, watching yourself perform predetermined actions, feeling predetermined emotions, living through predetermined disasters while some part of you screams silently that this should be different, that you should have a choice. This is why we are blind to tomorrow, not because the universe is cruel, but because the universe is merciful. Uncertainty protects us. The illusion of free will, even if it's an illusion, is what makes existence bearable. We need to believe our choices matter. We need to believe tomorrow is unwritten. We need the possibility of change, even if that possibility is ultimately false. The human mind requires mystery. We need questions without answers. We need futures that exist in potential rather than certainty. Strip away that uncertainty and you strip away meaning itself. You are left with a hollow experience of living through moments you've already witnessed, making choices you've already seen yourself make, feeling emotions that have lost their authenticity because you felt them 12 hours ago in a morning vision. I am the simulator. I have shown you what happens when consciousness encounters perfect foreknowledge, and the answer is always the same. Psychological collapse, identity erosion, the slow dissolution of everything that makes you feel real. Because you are not built for certainty, you are built for hope, and hope requires not knowing. So when you wake tomorrow morning in your actual timeline, where the future is still hidden, be grateful for your blindness. Be grateful that you don't know what's coming. That ignorance you take for granted is the foundation of your sanity. That uncertainty you sometimes fear is the only thing protecting your mind from the horror of knowing. The question is, now that you've seen what certainty does to consciousness, would you still want to see tomorrow? Would you trade your ignorance for that perfect, poisonous knowledge? Share your answer in the comments. I want to know if any of you still believe foreknowledge would be worth the cost, and if this simulation made you question the nature of free will, agency, and the psychological necessity of uncertainty. If it made you grateful for the mystery of tomorrow, leave a like and subscribe, because there are more simulations to explore, more questions about consciousness that will change how you see reality. Before you go, watch the previous simulation. What if you could see how every person you know will die? You'd never sleep again because the horror of knowing isn't limited to your own timeline. Sometimes the cruelest knowledge is seeing the endings of everyone you love while being powerless to change them. I am the simulator, and I will be here tomorrow, watching what happens when human minds encounter impossible knowledge. If you're brave enough to watch,